Greetings, fellow beings. Today I'm going to reminisce about a dear friend and cousin. Apologies if the sappy commentary makes you cringe. I actually lost 4 dear people within less than a year's time, and I wish to talk about all of them eventually. Today's will be about Chris. First off, this painting is somewhat of a hashtag redraw of a steampunk octopus painting I did back in January 2016. I painted that one on canvas with oils, along with another painting friend who did their own take on the same topic. And no, the painting friend is not the one I'm remembering today. Although, hey Fairway, if you happen to be watching this, hoping you and your growing family are doing well. So after I had posted the pic of the completed painting, the older steampunk octopus painting, my friend/cousin, Chris, took a liking to it. Since we were both married into the same family as our spouses, yes, our spouses are cousins, I would of course see him at family gatherings. He would bring up that painting all the time and talk about art with me. Honestly, those talks would mean more than he would know, because IRL art talks just aren't a thing that happens often to me. All the people I talk to about art, I can count on one hand. So, as the year went on, I decided I was going to give Chris that painting. Miss Jean, my art mom, so graciously gave me a unique frame for it too. Not gonna lie, I kind of thought of keeping it for myself after seeing it in that frame, but I didn't. His birthday came, and my dear sister-in-law delivered it for me. She even filmed him unwrapping it so that I could see his expression. And from then on, he would message me a few times a year about how much he appreciated that piece of art. We even discussed future steampunk octopus paintings, which I never got around to painting while he was alive. Last year, when I had Gooosey, just a few days later, we get sudden news of Chris's passing. That moment shook my husband and I. I was just melting over my newborn. And then everything just goes silent. Breathing became heavy. The room filled with sadness and one emotion that we don't normally talk about: regret. Instantly, I regretted not having taken more time to talk to him, not taking more time to go to family events, not inviting him to private gatherings or fellowships. I mean, come on. The guy was from our generation. Who would have thought it would have been cut short? We obviously took his time for granted, and now we'd never have another chance. I don't know the details. I don't know if he was hiding a secret about his health or anything, but it kind of makes sense now thinking back to when I would ask, "Hey man, how you doing?" And he'd make that face after a short pause, and then say something like, "You know, God is good. I'm grateful for my life," and a whole bunch of other encouraging stuff like that. I've said it before. Hindsight is 20/20. I wouldn't consider myself as one of Chris's close friends, but he was a friend to anyone. And all of my memories I've sifted through time and time again, they're all good. So where do I even begin? I guess the brightest memories that come to mind straight away are the ones of his relationship with his wife, Nicole, my husband's cousin. It's funny, she's actually one of the reasons why I am married to him. Again, another story for later. Chris loved Nicole to no bounds, and everyone who knew them could see it. He was always making memories with her, whether they were on a big trip or even just in their hometown. From the outside looking in, it was like he treasured every moment with her, and she with him. The affection, the respect for each other, their bond was something special in its own right. Okay. The next batch of highlighted memories are my personal interactions with him. My very first conversation with him was when I was 17. My family and I had just did a big move and also transferred to a new church. I was new to the youth group, and Chris was the youth leader at the time. I remember hearing his last name as he introduced himself, and I immediately was like, "Do you know David?" He confirmed that he did and that he was his brother. We then went on to talk about, I don't remember. I do know that I somewhat was a health nut at the time and probably took a moment to be preachy and annoying about nutrition or something. A couple of months later, I started training to be a sound tech for the church. And Chris was already a part of the computer people ministry thing. I'm sorry, the actual titles are eluding me at the moment. We were the behind the scenes people. I was on the sound side and he was on the visual side. Because our ministries were basically in the same booth, albeit divided by a short wall, of course we talked and occasionally goofed around. Years went by and we were still part of our respective behind the scenes ministries, and we both fell in love with an arroyo and married them. So yay, we were now also legal family. At the time, I didn't think much of it, but that was kind of awesome. Honestly, this guy was great. He was a nerd to his core. He knew how to dress. He never seemed ashamed to be himself and always spoke the truth, but in a gentle way. He was a human light. Fellow empaths know what I'm talking about. There are some people that carry darkness, some with different colored whatever bits of smoke floating around him, but genuinely, he was like a light, even when he was sad. Needless to say, he was the type of person to put people first. If you required assistance and he had the skill needed, he'd help immediately. And most of us required his knowledge. For me, I would ask him graphic design questions often. He would give me his bit of knowledge and then send me on my way. What was great was that he'd follow up. Even, let's say, if I didn't see him till a few months later, he'd stop and ask, "Hey, did you ever blah blah blah?" It didn't even have to be about that. It could have been anything we discussed last, and he would remember. And if it happened to be about some ambitious endeavor, he'd ask about it. And it didn't matter what my answer was. The conversations would conclude with an encouraging word from him. I mean, seriously, that's genuinely the kind of guy he was. Present day, I have had him and his wife on my mind quite often. That regret of not having made his new steampunk octopus that we discussed was just looming over my head. You know, like, he even liked the suggestions of possibly doing a whole octopus collection, which I may do now. So Chris, I'm sorry it took so long, but this one's finally here. In this version of Steampunk Octopus, I did keep a few elements of the first one. I took his love for green and brown and made sure those colors were included. I asked his brother for a few questions to help me out, and the rest is history. This is the illustration I was able to come up with. So because of Chris, this one was created. I doubt it'll be my last octopus illustration. And every time I make one from now on, I'll be thinking of Chris. In closing, he was a gentle giant to everyone. He was a funny dude, loved, cherished, and respected his wife openly. A gentleman to his core, definitely a man of God. If you somehow were able to see this, Chris, I hope you like it. I'll be making more. We miss you. I seriously wish you would have met Gooosey. I wish you and Nicole could have come over and tried one of Matt's smoked briskets. You were one in billions, man. Till we see you again. Anyways, thank you for clicking on this video. My deepest gratitude for you listening to me ramble. And as always, thanks for watching. Laters.